Hey, y'all. Welcome to the CPA Exam series of the WERKin Mommas podcast. I'm Nikki. Thank you for tapping in and supporting this podcast and all of my CPA exam content. The WERKin Mommas podcast was originally all about my frolics and frustrations of being a mama to two growing kids. But like most moms out here, there's other hats that I wear. I'm a CPA, I work in corporate America, I run my own businesses. And so I wanted to have conversations about the CPA exam for candidates, talk about business and tax tips for entrepreneurs, share career advice from my perspective as a Black girl working in an industry where I'm part of the 1% and not in a good way. And of course, getting real about money and credit and unlearning some of the things that we as Black kids saw and adopted as the truth. So, my podcast is a labor of love for me. I enjoy sharing CPA exam tips and tricks and all that I went through with the exam in hopes that my experiences will inspire you to keep going, no matter how hard or how impossible this journey seems right now. I'm here to tell you it is so worth all of the stress and frustration that you may be feeling. There's lots more CPA exam coaching, practice exams, simulations, tutorials online at winstoncpagroup.com/CPA exam. There's a virtual classroom where you can access all of my content, my notes, my tutorials, these premium podcast episodes, and more in the virtual classroom. Check it out online. I also post CPA exam tips on LinkedIn, so make sure we're connected over there. And as you listen to this episode, if something resonates with you or is super helpful to you, let your networks know that you're tuned in to this exclusive CPA exam series of the WERKin Mommas podcast. Feel free to share on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and tag me at Nick Winston CPA. So let's jump into this episode. My struggles with the CPA exam manifested into the only Black owned and woman owned CPA exam review course designed to prepare candidates for both the CPA exam and their accounting careers once they receive their license. Do you love this content? We'll help create more of it. Support this podcast and the CPA exam virtual classroom at buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA. When you go to the site, click on the support button, and from there, you can buy as many cups of coffee or tea as you like. And feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you like most about the WERKin Mommas podcast. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA and help create more of the content you love. Hey y'all, this is Nikki again. Welcome to episode 22. I literally just recorded this whole episode and then I went to look for it like, where's the recording? What happened? I don't know if I hit record, then I stopped. I know for certain that I hit record, but I don't know if it's just too much shit open on my laptop or what. But the good thing is the recording that didn't record featured my kids, one of which is hollering and screaming on the PlayStation because something with the Fortnite situation didn't work out. And then the other one is just nonchalantly watching videos on her laptop walking by me. So I'm just getting all of the feedback from her device. So hopefully this one will be better. I see the recording going. We are getting it this time. So let me start back over. I wanted to do this episode today specifically to speak to the CPA candidates as they are preparing to go back into the testing centers with Prometric. And when I said that the first episode featured my kids, now I hear my husband on the phone and he don't know how to use his inside voice, so this is going to be interesting. But we'll just try to hold on. Pause. Okay, so now that we're done eating leftover pizza and talking about the house party app, let's get back to what I was coming here to talk about in the first place. So, I want to talk about the CPA exam and why it seems so freaking hard. So, we know that the testing centers are going to reopen soon at the end of May, and it's hard enough to be a candidate just in a normal environment. So, now having to deal with studying for these exams and all that comes along with that in the middle of a global pandemic just has to be terrible. And I feel for y'all, but I want y'all to keep going. I want you to spend time studying every day, even if it's only 30 to 60 minutes a day. I created the quarantine and study course for FAR for those of you who are struggling to find the motivation to study, where you can take 30 minutes a day, 60 minutes a day, and use some retired CPA exam questions and study that way and learn the right answers, master the content, and then get a feel for how these questions can be thrown at you. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But the other thing I want to talk about here is really a mindset thing. And I'm seeing a lot of y'all posting things in the group, in the private CPA exam accountability group, about just not having the motivation, not having the energy, and struggling with some concepts that really, if you think through them, are not really that difficult. So the first reason why I feel like the exam seems so hard is because you're studying and you're scratching the surface just enough to get through the exam. The fact that you need a 75 to pass has a lot of y'all giving 75% of the effort, and you're expecting a flying with colors result. You're expecting to pass with flying colors by giving 75% of the effort. But it's more than those blueprints that are issued by the AICPA. It starts with your mindset. And I say that because the mindset of the candidates are really becoming evident. I'm in a lot of these online CPA exam study groups where students are asking questions and they'll screenshot a practice problem that they're working on from their review course. And they'll say, well, I thought the answer was A, but the answer is really C. What happened? What did I miss? And so I'll look at the question, I'll look at the answer, and I'll try to explain why that particular answer is the right answer, and then look at the answer they picked just to see where their mind is at. To say, well, you picked this answer because you didn't think about A, B, and C. And I do that because I'm curious to see what candidates' pain points are and where y'all are really struggling, and how the Winston CPA exam review courses can really get y'all ready the right way. A lot of times it's, I don't understand. Even if after I read and watch the videos, I don't get it. Or people will come in a group and say, hey, how much of FAR is governmental accounting? Or are they testing bonds? Or did you get bonds on your exam? And don't do that. Don't do that. I see a lot of people asking people about what they've seen on their exams. And first of all, any candidate who has sat in front of that computer and taken a section of the CPA exam knows that candidates are prohibited from divulging exam content. So please don't. Stop asking what's on the exam. And if you have ever taken an exam, don't respond. Remember the acknowledgement box that you checked before you started your exam. The other things is if somebody actually responds and says, oh, well, governmental is only like 9%, then you need to run the other way. Because even if it was 9%, I don't even know how you would measure that on your exam. But the blueprints that are issued by the AICPA give you the content outline. It also gives you the allocation of how the content is spread out. So I'm looking right now at the most recent FAR blueprint, Area 4, which is governmental or state and local governments is what it's officially called. And it's 5 to 15% of testable content. So you can get an exam where your exam is 5% governmental. It can be 15% governmental. Of course, the other three areas are more heavily tested: the financial statements, the specific accounts, the transactions, the rules, etc. So you have the transactions and the rules, which make up the balances in these accounts, and then these accounts are categorized in the various financial statements. So obviously that's the bulk of the exam, but you still need to understand how the governmental, the state and local, the nonprofit, and how those things work. Colleges, the accounting, tuition, stuff like that. Still just need to understand how it works because it is part of the testable content. So let me look at I think it's episode 5, but let me go to Apple Podcasts and check out the WERKin Mommas podcast. So this is episode 22, and I'm referencing episode 5. So episode 5 was a Q&A session, CPA exam Q&A session, but I posed a question to my listeners, to y'all, to say, how do you study to get a 75? We all know that you need a 75 to pass the exam, but what does that mean? What does that look like? How do you study to get a 75? And why would you want to study to get a 75? I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at my CPA exam license right now. I still haven't hung it up yet. So a couple weeks ago, we did a Black CPA version of the Don't Rush Challenge. And if you haven't seen it, it was super cute. It's on my Instagram at Nick Winston CPA, on my IGTV. But I'm looking at it because it's still on the floor. I redid my office and I hadn't hung it back up yet. So I featured it in the video, and I'm looking at it now as I'm recording this episode because I'm like, the CPA exam, the accounting industry, what it took for me to get that, this is not the industry to be mediocre, to be just barely there. I've spent my entire career in industry, but I have friends who are both current and former public accounting staff, managers, directors, partners, and the responsibility is no joke on both sides, whether you work in public or industry or governmental or nonprofit. It's no joke. Sometimes you're given too much information. In practice, we call that analysis paralysis. And on the CPA exam, we call that a distractor. In some cases, you won't have enough information, and you have to use your professional judgment to make inferences based on the information that you have to work with. Same situation on the CPA exam. The bottom line is this: y'all are studying to get a 75. You're not studying to be good accountants. And that's why the CPA exam seems so hard. You don't know what's going to be tested on the exam. Sometimes you just stare at it long enough just so you can recognize the right answer. Not really study, but you've gone through this particular set of multiple choice questions so many times that you've pretty much recognized the right answer and can call it out just because you're so used to seeing it. But that's why it's so hard. We're not studying to be good accountants. We're just studying to get that 75. And let me talk real quick about converting cash and accrual basis income. I just did a tutorial on this for a student who reached out and said, "Hey, I'm having trouble remembering what to do to convert." And if you're just doing this for the sake of remembering stuff, then stop. Just stop, because your whole study strategy will fall apart. And I'm saying that because I learned the hard way, having sat in front of that computer 13 times. You're just studying the big things, the topics that you see people talk about the most. And the key to a lot of this content, regardless of what section you're studying for, whether it's audit FAR, reg, or BEC, the key to a lot of this is just understanding what is happening. Now, there is some stuff There is some topics where I'm like, what was that? This makes no sense. No matter what I do, what I read, what I watch, this is not making sense. But going back to the cash and accrual basis income conversion, if you understand what's happening, it's an easy concept and there's not really anything to memorize. And just to break that down real quick, if you have 70 grand in cash basis income, right? And then the additional transaction is an increase in accounts receivable by 15,000, and the question is asking you what's the accrual basis income. Obviously this is a oversimplified example, but I will put the tutorial link in the notes just so y'all can see it in detail. But if you start with 70, the increase in AR means that there was sales that occurred without a cash transaction. So the sales were on credit. That means that under the accrual basis, you'll have 85 grand of income. That's not about memorizing. That's simply understanding how accruals work and what to add or subtract when transactions occur in the absence of cash. That's it. That is it. And how do you know what's happening? By reading the question, by understanding what's being asked of you, writing out the journal entries or the T accounts. And then the answer is right there. T accounts don't lie, JEs don't lie. So make sure you check out this tutorial if you are one of those people struggling with cash to accrual basis conversion, but also really just to understand the questions and how they're being presented to you. And the biggest difference really between cash and accrual income is the treatment of the prepaids and the deferrals. And again, I don't want to delve into that here. I know that some of y'all are studying for FAR and some of y'all are studying for other sections, but the tutorial has the actual calculations and the journal entries and such so that you can check it out to understand the concept and then get a feel for how to tackle those questions. The other reason that the CPA exam seems so hard is because of the mental block that it creates. Just being a candidate brings this fear, this anxiety, this nervousness, and now with COVID-19, this uneasiness, this uncertainty, not being in control and not really knowing what's next. But there's a lot riding on this. Your career, some of y'all can't even move forward in your career until you get your CPA. A lot of y'all want to become CPAs and open your own business or go back to your communities and serve those business owners. So your entrepreneurial goals, lots of things are riding on this. Your earnings potential, let's not forget about that. There are people who have not even started this journey who are not CPA candidates because it's the fear. Out of fear of what they've heard other people say, that it's hard, that it's expensive, I don't have the time to study, all these different things. And so I want to unpack this so that y'all can really understand this from the candidate side and from a business owner's perspective. So, what is a CPA? What do we do? According to the AICPA, the AICPA says CPAs are many things. A CPA or certified public accountant is a trusted financial advisor who helps individuals, businesses, and other organizations plan and reach their goals. I left my water. I think I left my water upstairs. I just finished recording a podcast with the AICPA, actually, with the Journal of Accountancy about technology and accounting firms in light of COVID-19 and how everybody's had to pivot. And I went and tried to record it on my phone, and so I took my water upstairs, but then I came back to my office and I left my water. So y'all know me usually having my lemon water or some tea or something, and I have nothing today. Even my teacup is empty. So we just gonna thug it out with nothing to drink. But going back to a CPA being that trusted financial advisor who helps individuals and businesses obtain their goals, whether it's saving for a new home, opening a new office space, planning a multi-billion-dollar merger. CPAs can help, and that's straight from the CPA, from the AI CPA. So you're the expert. You're seen as the expert, as that go-to person when it comes to managing somebody's money and analyzing data to help them make big decisions. That is a tall order. So, for those of you listening who are business owners or you aspire to be a business owner once you get your license, business owners are constantly looking for support in that area of the business. So, entrepreneurs, business owners, make the investment in a CPA, in a trusted financial advisor, because you owe that to your business. So, let me speak to you future CPAs now, continuing on what the AI CPA says. They also said getting your CPA certification opens the kinds of doors that can fast track you into influential jobs in every industry. Let me read that again. Getting your CPA certification opens the kinds of doors that can fast track you into influential jobs in every industry. So now, those of you looking for the motivation or the reason to keep going or trying to find the energy to study, we can drop the mic after that. What other role, aside from doctors, attorneys, I can't really think of any others, but what others provide you with that type of potential? You're fast tracked, influential job, regardless of the industry. So when you look at it from that standpoint, if I was a future CPA and I had credit for one or two sections and I had a couple more exams to go, or even if this is my first exam, when you think about it like that, I'm like, let me learn and let me get good at what I need to get good at. Because when you think of something like a CPA certification, I'm looking at my license again, just thinking about what it took to get this piece of paper. A CPA certification with all of its prestigiousness, that is not going to come easy. And it's not going to come with mediocre effort. A 75 on the CPA exam is not like a 75 on other exams. You don't start with 100 and you can get 25 points wrong on the questions. You start at 0. When you sit down in front of that computer, you're starting at 0, and you have to have enough knowledge to get to that 75 by answering a combination of medium and hard multiple choice questions, written communications, simulations, document reviews, all kinds of scenarios. You have to do the work. There's no skirting around the work. And you should want to do the work so that you're seen as that person, as that CPA that's knowledgeable and credible, so that you're seen as that trusted advisor, that trusted financial advisor, like the AI CPA said. Because there are some great CPAs out here, and there are some great test takers. Which one do you want to be? It's as simple as that. So, over in the private CPA exam accountability group, I hope you all are a part of that and you've joined already. If not, I'll put an invite in the notes for you, because that is a private community. It is a free community where I'm creating a space for candidates to not only talk about the exam content, but dealing with some of the non-technical aspects of becoming a CPA. What do you do when you pass? How do you have that conversation with your boss when you're ready to move to the next level? What do you do when you're a busy working mom and you can't find the time to get through the last chapter of BEC? How do you deal with working and studying and just all these different things? How do you deal with failing? How do you set yourself up for a comeback after you fail? There's just so many different things that we talk about in that group. because my goal is to support y'all on this journey and get you over that exam hump and get you certified. So I posed a question to the community to share a topic that they're struggling with and that I would create a tutorial for them. So far I've done one on bonds, did a long tutorial on bonds. I did bond accounting for about 5 years, so it's something I'm well versed in that I also enjoy talking about. I did the cash to accrual basis income conversion that I just talked about. I've done a corporate governance, which is BEC, the first section of BEC, and a couple other things. And so I'm posing that question to y'all is to share with me a topic that you're struggling with, whether you email it to me, Nikki at nickwinstonCPA.com, or hit me up on LinkedIn or Instagram like y'all do at Nick Winston CPA, because we have to be in this together. We have to break down these barriers that are stopping y'all from getting over the hump. A lot of times when you fail, it's not because you don't know, it's because maybe you panicked, maybe you freaked out because you saw a simulation that looked totally foreign to you. Maybe you spent so much time staring at questions that you ran out of time. And so sometimes you just need to have somebody to help you dust some of those things off and to really get you ready and fully prepared to sit for the exam. So definitely join that group if you have not already. And I really had to do this episode today, even with my daughter watching videos in the background and playing Roblox, and my son playing Fortnite on his PlayStation, hollering and screaming. I think my husband's cackling and kikiing on the phone with his friends. But I really had to do this episode because I get it that y'all are dealing with something that even I or other candidates didn't have to deal with when we were on this journey, is dealing with this coronavirus and not really knowing what next week is going to be. I mean, Prometric and NASBA and the AICPA planned on reopening the centers on May 1st, and now they're saying May 31st, and we're having to get our NTSs extended and think about losing credit and then work through all the kinks of that. So there's a lot that y'all are dealing with right now. So anything that I can do as a 13-time test taker to help make this journey easier for y'all, I am more than happy to do that. So I'll put some notes or put some links in the notes for y'all to the quarantine and study course, which is for the FAR section. I'm also working on the quarantine and study for BEC right now, and then audit and reg will soon follow after that. But these are CPA exam strategies and ways to look at the questions and answer the questions and even pick the best answer even when you have no idea what the right answer is. So it's not about you knowing every single thing. It's about you being able to put the pieces together that you do have and come up with an informed decision and make sure that that decision makes sense. So the quarantine and study course for FAR is out there. I had it on sale, and then the sale might be over, I think, but I put it on sale. There's also the keys to the written communications for the BEC section for those of y'all studying BEC and trying to figure out how to write your best memos. There's a ebook on my website, nickwinstoncpa.com, where it gives you the 7 things that you need to pay attention to when you're writing your written communications. There's also a template in there for you to practice perfecting your own, because it's not only testing your technical know-how, but your ability to communicate effectively and write some sound professional business documents where you can convey opinions and share your expertise and do so in a manner when you're communicating with CFOs or other senior leadership members, or even a staff accountant within your organization. You might see practice simulations or practice written communications where you're writing a memo to an auditor or to a staff accountant or to a CFO. So it's important for you to be able to communicate and know how to do those things, not only for exam purposes, but for for practice. And that's the thing that I want y'all to keep in mind, is that this is not just for exam purposes. This is for practice. This is for real life. And so that's why I say make this short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain, because it's not about just passing the exams. It's about knowing this stuff so that when the time comes when it really counts, which is when you have clients and employers paying you to know what you know, that's when it becomes important. So don't make this exam harder than it already is. There are, like I said, a ton of resources on my website, nickwinstonCPA.com, on my Instagram, and on my LinkedIn for y'all to really get what you need to get and pass these exams and be on your way, because it's frustrating to have to retake and fail and lose credit and all those other things. So if sharing my 13-time experience with y'all will help y'all escape some of those traps I fell into, then hey, I'm all for it. So feel free to share this episode with your CPA friends, your accounting friends, your colleagues, and rate it and like it on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. If you're listening to this and you share it on social, feel free to tag me at Nick Winston CPA. I definitely appreciate when y'all support or tag me in y'all things. And again, whatever I can do to keep y'all going, that's what we're gonna do, especially in light of this COVID-19. So that is it for now. I need to go find my water jug, try to catch me an episode of Family Feud before I jump back on the computer and work some more tonight, because that's just what I like doing. So y'all be good, be well, be safe, happy studying, and we will talk soon. Thank you again for tuning in and rocking with me on another episode of the WERKin Mommas podcast. This podcast is the business plan for entrepreneurs, the how-to and WTF guide for busy moms, and the coattail pulling career advice that professionals need to win in the corporate world. I'm Nikki Winston. I am a mama, I'm a CPA, and a career development expert who put all the what ifs aside and launched my podcast. Do you love this content? If so, I would love for you to help create more of it. Support the WERKin Mommas podcast at buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA. When you go to the site, click on the support button, and from there you can buy as many cups of coffee or tea as you like. And feel free to leave a comment while you're there. Tell me what you like the most about the WERKin Mommas podcast. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Nick Winston CPA and help create more of the content you love. If you're a CPA candidate, you can join the Winston CPA Exam virtual classroom online at winstoncpagroup.com/CPA Exam. Business owners, get answers to accounting and tax questions and how to form your LLC or corporation at winstoncpagroup.com/business. Are you a professional working in the corporate world? Well, there's career advice and tools that you need to elevate your leadership skills. Click on the career advice page of winstoncpagroup.com or go to winstoncpagroup.com/career advice. And of course, for the busy, overworked moms, there is a place where we understand your struggle. Join the WERKin Mommas community for cleaning hacks, quick meals that are nutritious and kid approved, and all things mom life at thewerkinmommas.com. We also have a Pinterest board that's called Supercharged Self-Care that all the moms love. So check out our mom life tips over on Pinterest.com/theworkinmommas. And of course, if you are not already, you can follow me online on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at Nick Winston CPA. Connect with the WERKin Mommas online at theworkinmommas.com, as well as on the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages. Thank you again. It has been fun, and my podcast is a labor of love for me. So I appreciate every single solitary person who is tuning in, and I look forward to you coming back to rock with me on another episode of the WERKin Mommas podcast.